participants can join, and one can be on an iPhone and one can be on telepresence. Imagine type of transcoding we need to do in real time and therefore, one of the things we don't want to do is say the iPhone is transmitting on like a 3G network, look crappy on the telepresence, right? Or so we have to do the real-time transcoding and do that. To come back to answer your question, I think because where the technology is headed in terms of how servers are getting faster and faster, distributed computing actually helps in terms of this type of service. Right? You can actually transcode thousands and thousands of real-time streams with a single or a couple of servers from Dell. Actually, you can do that. And when you that means you can scale these problems. You don't have to build these gigantic DSP boxes. And that's actually another reason why you will see more and more multi-party video created. As well as you can actually do high definition, right? 720p costs you about a meg and a half in terms of bandwidth you need to have, both up and down. When you go to 1080p, it's 4 megabit, right? And then at 1080p at 60 frames, that's going to be even higher. But the technology is there, it can be done. I think I want to answer an earlier question. I think 4G helps, but I think what's going to screw this up is all these data plans that the service providers are imposing on yourself, right? It used to be unlimited. Now imagine transmitting video and you have a limited 30 meg plan, whatever the thing is. That's going to completely derail video adoption on mobile devices.
Yeah, so if we draw a distinction between communication versus broadcast, I've got no experience in communication at all. On the broadcast side, I can't say enough, transcoding is a huge issue. Not only do you have to transcode for different devices, but you have to transcode different qualities for different devices. And so the average stream that goes in Justin.tv is turned into at least 10 different streams at a minimum. And that has to be real time, and it's a pain in the butt. And nobody does it really well. So you can buy a box that's super expensive, or you really just have to engineer a system yourself. The other thing is kind of architecting a video system that's fundamentally different from static video. One of our early network engineers came off the YouTube team, and he explained the YouTube problem. You know, when you get a viral video, you might spike 2x or 3x your steady state traffic. Or if you get 100 viral videos, you might spike 2x or 3x steady state traffic. But when you get a live video that blows up, you can spike 10, 20, 30x your steady state traffic. And so kind of understanding how bandwidth contracts work, where you contract a 90-10, you have to be very creative when you're engineering your system so that you can fit all of your spikes within your 10 burst. Otherwise, you're just completely screwed. And if you get really good, you start negotiating better deals. So you can start doing like 85-15, and you have all these like fun things you can do. But essentially, like the magic of a live broadcast system is how do you get as much spike bandwidth without paying for it as steady state bandwidth? That was the hardest thing we had to do. And the big thing we did to help us on that front was actually peering. So we started Justin.tv. An hour of watching video on Justin TV cost us $4 and running off a CDN. So we didn't want you to watch any video on Justin TV. It was horrible. Our first bandwidth bill was $40,000. We had $20,000 in the bank. Now we can stream live video at approximately a quarter penny per minute. And if we throw a 30-second pre-roll in front of you, that's not actually a bad deal for us. In the interim, what ended up happening is we ended up peering a significant amount of our video traffic off to the tune of between 35 and 50% through free peering relationships. And that was another big leap for us in reducing that cost. So transcoding, peering, and how do you deal with the massive spikes, which we hate.
My question has to do with real-time video conferencing and collaboration for businesses of all sizes. You didn't mention it, but there was a huge effort in the early 90s, probably 1993 to 1996. Intel probably spent about $4 or $5 billion companies spend less amounts, but still significant, and trying to make that happen with standards like B120, T120, H323, and so forth, didn't work. Is this a dream that will never be realized? And what are the obstacles to preventing real-time video conferencing with collaboration? Which means, for those who don't know, not only do you have the video conferencing, you can have a shared whiteboard, and you can have shared documents, shared presentations, and so on and so forth, at the same time as you're communicating face-to-face.
So there are several things which the experience you were mentioning for like early 90s, at that time, mid-90s, at that time the endpoints or the technology which was used were, first of all, the technology was not mature enough, it was early adoption. And from the businesses and collaboration point of view, the willingness in terms of generational readiness wasn't there. So two things which were working against you. One is the technology which was not as mature in terms of 720p or 1080p experience. The pervasiveness or the immersive video experience wasn't there. That's one thing. The other thing was the way it was being implemented was the kind of silos. Just think about it right now that if you have a device, any of the mobile device, but you cannot connect to anyone you wanted to. So how useful that could be? It probably will not be as much as useful unless you can connect to whoever you wanted to. So the real value comes in when you have a network effect. You can connect to whoever you want and whenever you want. If that experience is there in terms of connectivity, which is now because you have a cloud available, you have much mature network is available, much higher bandwidth is available, so you can connect using all these kind of technologies. That is the reason this dream, we can, as far as what I am seeing right now, it is much more acceptable, and this dream is getting fulfilled now.
What I'm referring to is personal video conferencing rather than people going into a room, which is the case with Cisco and other video conferencing companies, to talk with other people in the room. I'm talking about just sitting at your desktop with a camera and communicating in a multi-party video conferencing call and sharing documents and whiteboards and presentations and so on and so forth.
So I'm going to give a plug and a short answer to that. You can do all of that for free today on Google Plus Hangouts. And you can be on your computer. You can be on your computer, 10 people. You can share Google Docs. You can do live presentation, live coding.
You know, I never heard of Google Plus Hangouts.
See, that's why I'm here. But you can do that today. You can just give it a try.
Yeah, I think at Skype it was kind of interesting how we came around to this, solving this in a sort of consumerish way. I think there's still a lot of opportunity to disrupt the businesses that like WebEx have developed to kind of cater to this space. But you know, we had one of our R&D guys just figured out how to do screen sharing really easily. We threw that in the product, and it's just massively popular. And that allows you to share your screen. You can be on a video call. You can be sharing. You could be co-browsing. You could be working on a document together. You could be reviewing each other's code if you're a developer. And it's been massive, and it's free. So I think it's just really interesting how you can just turn on a little simple feature like that, and you get massive adoption.
So I have a question. I think the piece that was discussed now just leads into this question about the network effect. I want to understand what strategies on each of your products are you doing or services to enhance the network effect on you in terms of marketing, and also 5 years from now, where do you see all this go? You know, I mean, how is your product going to grow, or even, you know, are we looking at like holograms, or what type of video?
You guys are definitely holograms.
We're working on smell-o-vision.
There's this April Fool's joke that was played on a broadcaster where they said, yeah, iPad could transmit taste, and she actually licked the iPad on network TV, which was pretty funny. But no holograms, at least in the next few months at least. But so we are trying to build a network, right?
right? That's we're starting with Google Plus as we're trying to build this shared notion of identity, and we're trying to. What we're doing with Hangouts is this experiment where can we use video to form those network effects and connections? Like a lot of the players who already have the network are using video to enhance their existing networks, which is what the Facebook Skype combination does really well today. They have the network and building video to enhance that network. We're trying to go about it the other way, saying can we have a video-based network that in turn fuels the social graph that we're looking at. It's a different problem for us. It's not the problem the industry as in general is trying to solve. It's specific to what we are trying to do. But in general, you need both of those things. You need those social connections. Who are you going to communicate with, right? You need those social, and those could be bi-directional. Those could be your friends and family as they are on Facebook, or they could be unidirectional. It could be David Beckham doing a hangout on Google Plus, and his millions of his adoring teenage girls watching him do that hangout. In both those cases, you need that network. It's one-way or bi-directional. We are seeing a lot of success right now with that one-way network connection, where there will be someone popular, and that someone did get popular with the video because of the video in the first place. Right? So we have the singer Daria Mas. She started performing on Hangouts. Right? She said, this is a great idea. I'm not getting any record deals. I'm not getting any labels, but I have a pulpit. I can sing there. I can sing, and if I'm good, people will listen. And she did like 12-hour-long concerts on Hangouts, and now she has 1 million followers. She has a record deal. A Grammy-winning producer just produced a music video for her. I mean, so those effects. I mean, someone needs to take the first step. But once you have the network and once you have the technology, I think that's when we see magic happening.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we don't know all of the great uses of real-time video communications down the road in whatever context. But what we're trying to do is give developers the tools they need so that they can take the Skype platform and integrate it into their application. So just at CES this year, Panasonic, I think for the first time, was a TV manufacturer that allowed you to co-watch a TV program and be on a video call. So if you're on a group video call with all your buddies watching a football game, drinking beers, and you could all be having that shared experience. And this isn't something that we would have been able to do on our own. So I think, and who knows what other applications are coming. I think where the real leverage here is if you can give the developer community the right tools to imagine these amazing applications.
From a network perspective, for the way we view it is, there's a bunch of existing social networks that are already out there, Facebook and Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and we're trying to build Spreecast in a way to really integrate and build on top of those networks, to use the APIs that all of those existing social networks offer to provide our product kind of on top of those existing social networks.
I think the most powerful tool that's available today is Facebook, and every 2 to 3 years they release the not nice way of saying it is they release APIs that allow apps to communicate to all of your friends, sometimes in a very spammy way. And then over the next 3 years, they kind of clamp those down, and then they release the new cycle. Right now, the new cycle is Open Graph. It makes it very easy for apps to get distribution on Facebook, and so that's what exists today. Tomorrow, the really way that this is going to happen is going to be through mobile. It's going to be through your contact list. I would argue that your contact list on your phone is probably the best maintained list of your friends that you have. And just now, developers who are focusing on mobile are getting access to that. And what we see at SocialCam is that the ability to kind of one click send a video to someone in your contact list is huge, because your contact list spreads across your family, your friends, your college friends, your social friends, in a way that a lot of these other sites are attempting to do but have not yet done. The phone companies did it, I don't know, before I was born. And so to me, that's going to be the platform of the future, and I think that the interesting bit is that I think there's only, 2 billion internet users, computer internet users, and there are 4 billion mobile phone users. Very quickly, you're going to get a population of people using smartphones who've never used laptops or computers before. And their contact lists will be really, really, really important for distribution.
Briefly, our definition of the network effect is to be able to just connect the 600 million Skype users to the 100 million Google Plus users to the Cisco's and the Microsoft. If you can reach them, you are creating that effect. If you're isolating them like in islands, then you can never be voted off that island. You're trapped. So our network effect is to be able to open up and connect everybody together so that the world is more connected from a communication perspective. And that's our definition of the network effect.
Yeah, hi. I work for a company where we try to have big media companies try to distribute video content, both live events as well as video on demand. And one of the things that we've observed is that as these content publishers are really interested in increasing their engagement of the users, that the quality of service plays a very big role. Now, pivoting that into the world of direct-to-consumer, how much have you guys seen the impact of quality of the video on sort of adoption rates as well as success of a platform? I'd like to see, probably your responses from all of you, if possible.
Quality is big. When we enabled users to select their quality level, like a la YouTube, it was a huge improvement. I think that in any new technology, you get that delay period where people will accept low quality just to be able to do it. But as soon as it doesn't seem like it's new anymore, it has to become high quality pretty fast.
Quality is improving from my perspective on the transcoding side and the ability to transmit the videos from the endpoints, whether those are hardware-based endpoints or the software-based endpoints, where like iPads and some other devices, smart devices, where you have softwares which are transcoding the video much more efficiently. And the quality in terms of the network, where the networks are getting much more wider in the sense that they are providing higher bandwidth for you. So the limitations are getting, the kind of limitations which we used to have before are kind of eliminating, and the technological improvements are enabling the quality. So from the user perspective, definitely quality is a big concern, and the innovations in the technologies are basically solving that problem. Still the network effect is still not there where you would like to see, where anyone can connect to anyone. So that kind of piece is still missing. A lot of people are trying to solve that problem, but still not there yet.
From my perspective, I've been in this space for a while. I think quality is pretty paramount, because especially if you look at video, the reason being that video is, just clicking a link to watch a video requires commitment from you. It requires a 2-minute commitment, whereas a half second of looking through a picture, right? And that is pretty big. And so the experience of that click is not good. And if the video that you see is not good, it actually deters you from clicking further links which has videos in it. So quality becomes pretty paramount in terms of, does it play instantly or not, right? Does it buffer or not? All those things are very critical in terms of delivering an experience which really matters to the end user, and that is what gets them to adopt, to say, this is good, now let me try another, But if the first experience is not there, it is hard for them to think that, should I again commit 2 minutes in clicking a link, which may or may not be the right thing.
The only thing I'll add to that is the definition of quality is more than the bit rate and the resolution, right? It's the content, it's the people, it's the underlying social, emotional, cultural reasons behind that. Like I was watching cricket online streaming, and it was buffering and stuff, and I was still watching for like hours, right? Because it's a good match going on. And the content was good, the quality.
Content bias, yes, but if you avoid if you just look purely from the perspective of the quality, it's yes, it's more than rebuffering, it's more than frame rate, it's how quick what failures are happening. So even the content bias, I want to remove that.
So even from the content bias, right? It's how you deal with the challenges that either the network or the devices place on you, and how you react to that really matters on quality as well. Right? Do you degrade gracefully when one person is on a low bandwidth network? If you can do that, even at really poor resolution while still maintaining for everyone else, that's great quality for that particular conversation.
I mean, it could be anything from like, have you got good lighting? That can affect the quality of a real-time video chat. But we did some tests at Skype actually where we maintained the audio quality but let the video quality degrade, and then did an A/B with the reverse where the audio quality would degrade but the video was great, and you can guess which users preferred. Actually, the audio quality, if you maintain the audio quality, you can get away with quite a lot of degradation in the video, and people still feel like they're having a good real-time chat.
Yeah, I have a question. So with Microsoft acquiring Skype, how do you think it will impact interoperability between Skype and Microsoft Enterprise Video, and Skype's proprietary nature of this product?
Right. Well, so a couple of pieces there. I mean, well, historically anyway, Skype has always been platform agnostic. You know, we try and get onto every new platform that becomes popular, whether it be the iPhone or you know, Android, TVs, Mac, PC, and we're very much committed to continuing to do that. If you can't actually address all endpoints adequately, then what's the point, right? But to address your question with regard to Microsoft, we're spending a lot of time and energy figuring those pieces out. We obviously want to have the best Xbox experience, we want to have the best Windows 8 Metro experience, we want to have the best Windows Phone experience, and also, you know, on the enterprise side, integration with Lync and interop with Lync. So these are things that we're all super focused on right now, but we don't want to let go of the fact that we are still continuing to be platform agnostic. And that's a commitment from, you know, my boss and even Steve Ballmer, that we will continue to be that.
Okay, so far we've been talking about live video in the very consumer sense, mostly around social media and things like that. There's a huge live video market in security, personal security, homeland security, law enforcement. What's happening and what do you see the future of live video in that space? Any perspectives?
You mean video surveillance?
Video surveillance would be.
I can answer one use case from a large enterprise customers, our biggest theme park. Not security, it is sort of security in the sense like in some of these theme parks, what they're doing right now is using mobile video instead of when there's an incident happening in one of the theme parks, right? Typically you go there and use your radio to relate to the command center. Now what they're doing is actually using an iPhone with the video app in it, whether it be Skype in this case, actually, to a room full of monitoring agents with video conferencing devices, and they're looking at it. And so there's a lot of these sort of security type applications are where people can actually use their mobile devices in a different way. So and those type of applications are going to be more pervasive. So we call it actually no longer video conferencing. It's actually becoming more video interactions where it's not about talking heads, it's not about meetings and pushing PowerPoint. It's about freeing yourself up from the room to where you are. And therefore where you are gives you a totally different context, and it could be for security. In this case, they're using it actually for field service in some of these theme parks. That's the one thing that I know is happening.
I actually know of a company, it's a startup that is looking into it very differently, where they are, you know, if you look at any kind of video surveillance, there is just hours and hours of video that gets produced from it. Trying to make any sense of it as to what really happens in it is quite a bit of work. So they have taken an approach of saying that I'm going to actually look at this and try to derive intelligence from these hours of video in real time by looking at various things, right? Whether there is a face that comes in or not, whether there is audio level which actually goes up or not. So any changes which are there, which can trigger certain kind of incident which can happen, they are looking at that and looking at those kind of essentially doing an analysis in terms of looking at live surveillance video and being able to produce saying that, okay, this was the change, this is what happened, let's trigger an alarm or let's trigger some kind of a call to someone based on that specific change in the level.
Hi, I have a question. regarding, you mentioned a lot of different things going on with real-time video. So the fundamental question is really to do with advertising, monetization, and profitability in these domains that you are in. And also, why is search still, backwards, like with excellent companies like Google and Microsoft involved with search? Video search still seems to be, somewhat back in time versus being in sync with the current technologies of real-time video and so forth. In other words, if I have to search for a video on Justin TV or Google Hangouts or whatever, I still find it painful. So if you can comment on both the monetization aspects as well as on the search aspects, I would appreciate it.
I'll take a stab at the monetization one, right? The general belief is if you have connections and if you have rich content and you have the identity and social graph, then we have the tools to monetize that, right? That's been our general philosophy, both across all the products that we have. The second question is, definitely not my area of expertise, but like the tools required to provide live multi-way video and the tools and technology required to take a static video and derive intelligence from them are vastly different, right? And it goes back to what Bhaskar was saying about the video service. Deriving intelligence from a stream of video, both real time or non-real time, this is extremely difficult. And it's extremely difficult to figure out what your intent was and if that content is in the video. But right now on YouTube, right, people are being able to search for stuff just because of the way the community is interacting, tagging, creating context around those videos. It's remarkable that you can find pretty much anything when you have the destination in mind. So there are tools that are ways we can solve this problem without doing video analysis. I think that's the next frontier. It's definitely super difficult and super computationally expensive.
So I think video monetization right now, at least online, is primarily in the kind of, let's call it, display/pre-roll advertising world. I think that today that's about a $2 billion world, and YouTube owns it for the most part, for almost all the part. And I actually think YouTube owning it is pretty awesome. It's kind of like a monopoly, but a monopoly for us. And so YouTube's actually forcing advertisers to create better ads, which then they distribute on everyone else's sites. So on the monetization front, the story I can tell you from Justin TV is, most people don't know Justin TV is actually a profitable company. And in the beginning of 2010, people would not put any video ads on our site, period. By the end of 2010, we were getting pre-roll ads at $18 CPMs for live video.
Is Justin TV a nonprofit or a profitable company?
Profitable C Corp. So money, the kind of like, the story we were preaching to investors for years and years is this money's coming from TV, and like, just wait, it's coming, and it actually did start coming. I think that the next wave and the mobile wave might be a little different. I think that there are 3 ways you can monetize on the mobile front. I think the first wave is going to be you can monetize for tools. People still sell video cameras. They're very expensive, and they pretty much all suck now. And being able to increase the number of people taking videos allows you to increase the number of video creation tools you can sell. I think the second thing is that Apple has done a really good job prepping people to do a one-click 99-cent purchase. It's great. And I think you're going to start seeing more and more people distribute video like Apple distributes music. So being able to send a 99-cent video down the pipe and allow people to buy it. And then I think the third and probably biggest thing is going to be ads on your phone. When you think about kind of television, TV grabs you for 4 to 5 hours a day, average American. Mobile is a screen in front of an average American for 15 hours a day. And it's kind of scary because it's a screen that knows where you are, it knows who you are, it can interrupt you at any time, and you spend all the time keeping it on. Like, you keep it charged as much as possible. And so I think the world's going to come when instead of walking in Times Square and looking up at big billboards, you're going to walk in Times Square and you're going to get a notification on your phone that says go to TGI Fridays and go do this and go do that. It's going to send you videos and you're probably going to hate it. But advertisers will probably pay as much money or more because instead of trying to get you to look up, they can just get you to look down.
So, Chris, you asked a question on real-time search, and it is a hard problem because if you think about search, it's usually about indexing and crawling, and that takes time. I mean, even at Google, with our fastest crawlers, it's at least 15 minutes. And so that's the problem with live, is how do you instantly index something? And some of the ways at YouTube we do is we do allow people to pre-set up their shows and tag them beforehand so that we can index, and we do know when it's going to schedule start time so we can surface it up. But to do, as Mayur pointed out, real-time video analysis at that very second, and then in 1 minute or less, have that index. That's a hard problem. And of course, we are looking into it, but it's a hard challenge.
Interestingly, because it's a corollary, sort of like a comment, is to ask you two very fascinating aspects about video, which is to say, in terms of integration with TV, Apple TV is coming up as are the rumors, and of course Google TV is being there with Blu-ray players and so forth. So curiously, I'm interested in those aspects. Like obviously, people have mentioned PCs being 1 billion users and 4 billion mobile phone guys and so forth. TV is one of the most omnipresent devices out there. So integration with that is kind of critical. So what are the efforts from Google's side, and maybe if you know of Apple TV's integration, of course the big bosses of Microsoft are already here, to ask them also what is their plans of integrating with TV. That would be great.
I don't want to speak on too much on behalf of Microsoft, but I think Xbox is a big part of this. Just looking at what they're doing with real-time video content distribution now, and obviously you can get Netflix and so on, Hulu on your Xbox, but they're going closer to the content now with various deals. From Skype's perspective, we're just making this thing called Skype Kit available to as many TV manufacturers that are interested in adopting it, and we've got Panasonic, Samsung, Sony, all on board with that, and we're seeing pretty good, healthy uptake actually as well. So Skype comes bundled with your TV when you buy it. So I think a lot of it also has to do with what is the adoption cycle for TVs. I think people on average keep their TV for 7 years or something, or maybe it's shortening now. It takes a bit of time, but the fact that a lot of this technology now is coming built into the TV and you don't have to get another box, I think is going to be pretty important.
Yeah, this is not Google Sticks, this is my personal take on this, is the way we're approaching real-time video on the large screen. There's one approach where you put the video camera and stuff in the TV. The other approach, which we see a lot more chance of succeeding, is you already have a phone, you have an iPad that has a video camera. If you can figure out a way to put that stream on your TV, which Apple, by the way, with iPad and AirPlay mirroring, does really well. Right? So you have a screen, you don't need a different video camera, you don't need a new TV. You need a $99 device that connects to your TV, and then any media-connected device, anything that has a webcam, can now project on a big screen. If you can solve that problem, and the technology exists today to solve that problem. If you can figure out the right set of tools to make that happen, I think that would be one way. Because the user doesn't have to buy a new device. They already use the devices that they love, right? The iPad is a phenomenal device for engaging people. If I can figure out a way to make that work on my TV for real-time communications, I think that's a problem that's will solve.
One more thing I'll add over here is that there is another paradigm shift is happening in terms of how we utilize or use our TVs. We used to, in the past, it was just kind of a one use case where we utilize our TV, but now maybe because of the generational shift, or maybe because the technology is getting more and more available and becoming reachable to more people. The TV and the equipment which is around TV is enabling consumers to be more more interactive with TV, and that kind of interaction, whether it's Netflix or YouTube or there are so many other wide range of options you have available for video communication with TV. So at least for one-way communication, you have those options available right now, and people are leveraging that. As more technological solutions will be available for the two-way communication, definitely consumers will be leveraging that as well.
Okay, I think maybe the last couple of questions. Okay, sure.
Just a moment, real quickly, because these are related. So, fascinating aspect again is to do with, two things. One is the channelization of, streams offered on your TV, like as in, Comcast has so many channels. Supposing there's fascinating stuff happening on Google Hangouts, and Google Hangouts decided to work with Comcast to offer some fascinating aspect as a broadcast, that would be one imaginative angle to use. So I'm curious if there are efforts in that regard. And just to quickly throw in another one was to do with video marketing is a big deal in the SEO, SMM world. So I'm curious about your experiences there of excellent marketing techniques that are being used in real-time or non-real-time video marketing for social media purposes and generally for enterprise evidence.
I'll take the time at the first one. I have absolutely no idea about the second one. The first ones we are experimenting this concept where we are integrating Hangouts and YouTube Live. So you can have 10 participants participating in a conversation with like unlimited number of people watching, and you have a device that has YouTube on it, which a lot of devices now have. The Xbox does, the Google TV does. You can watch it on your TV, right? The question is, we have the tools now. We have the tools for creating content, the tools for broadcasting content, and then we have endpoints capable of receiving that content on big screens. The question is, does the community have the right content to create around this? And we're seeing some early explorations around that, but it's very early days for us.
I think this panel is that area. So anyway, thank you everyone. I guess the panelists will be around for a bit if you have any questions to come up. But thank you. This has been really great.